from not even knowing that a merger was happening to telling his staff that the breakaway league is not going anywhere. This is Greg Norman responding to the LIV Golf and PGA merger. It's a crucial time for the sport right now, as after 2 years of feuding and lawsuits, the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, and LIV Golf have finally decided to sign a peace treaty and create a new global golfing entity. Well, that's what most people think it is anyway. But in reality, it seems like LIV Golf's involvement in this deal might be a bit exaggerated. You want to know why? It's because LIV's CEO, Greg Norman, didn't even know it was happening. Yep, shocking, right? But here's the deal. The guy in control of the merger is actually the Saudi Public Investment Fund boss, Yasir Al Rumayyan. In fact, he'll be the chairman of this new powerful golfing entity and is going to be on the board of directors too, alongside the likes of PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan. What's more is, Greg Norman's name wasn't even mentioned in the official press release, which again is wild considering the fact that he's the league's CEO. Here's the real kicker though. In an interview with CNBC, Yasir said that he only informed Norman about the deal minutes before it was announced. Now that's just cruel. That being said, he did follow it up by saying that, of course, Norman's a partner with them and that all stakeholders had a call with him right before the interview. Still, that's raised a lot of question marks over Norman's future within this new venture, with outlets like Sports Illustrated even saying that he's not expected to be a part of it going forward. But the Australian's got other ideas. He's acting super confident given all this drama and doesn't seem fazed by the fact that he's been sidelined at all. In fact, if anything, he's got a pep in his step right now, almost as if he knows something we don't. Well, obviously there's the fact that he was right all along and that the PGA Tour did cave in after all the back and forth with him. Even more importantly though, Greg Norman's really hopeful about the future of the game. He says that the floodgates have been opened for commercial sponsorships, blue chip companies, and TV networks for the breakaway league. And things are going to get better from here on out. Of course, a lot of finer details are yet to be figured out within the deal. There are also tons of question marks about whether the league would even exist within the new golfing entity. After all, if you just look at the official statement and everything that Jay and Yasir have said, then it's increasingly looking like we're going to get a brand new team golf organization that operates like LIV Golf, but isn't actually the breakaway league. Now, that would be wild, but it makes sense. You know why? Well, because one, the biggest condition for these talks to take place in the first place was that Greg Norman had to be sidelined. I mean, Rory McIlroy said it, Tiger Woods said it, and Jay Monahan did too. For them, the Aussie had just burned too many bridges and needed to be kicked out for anything to happen. So it's no surprise that he didn't know about the merger. That being said, it is unfortunate that he's being treated like this now. After all, LIV Golf wouldn't have been the same without him. Seriously, I get that the dude's a controversial figure and has said all sorts of bad things about the tour and its management, but he's feuding with so many people across the fence that there's no way he was ever going to be let back into the fray after a merger. At the same time, though, he's been a robust leader for the league, saying all the right things to keep it relevant and within the news cycle. What's more, he's also been the driving force for attracting some of the biggest names in golf to the league. I mean, say what you will about him, but you can't deny that players like Cameron Smith joined because of it. Not to mention, LIV's most successful event in Australia gave them enough leverage to pull this deal off. Yeah, that was also him. So, there's definitely some bittersweet feeling among the league's ranks right now. Wait a sec though, if Yasir hasn't fully sidelined Greg Norman, and he's still a stakeholder in the new entity, then where's everyone even getting this idea from? Well, of course, it's Jay Monahan. Now, understandably, the PGA Tour Commissioner might be a bit biased with his words, since he's not exactly best friends with Greg. But the thing is, he wouldn't lie while talking about the deal in an official capacity, would he? In an interview after the deal was announced, he was adamant that he doesn't see LIV Golf existing alongside the PGA Tour in 2024. Of course, he still said that he hasn't gotten the full evaluation of LIV Golf and what's going to happen to the league. But for him, it's just very hard to see a scenario where we see some sort of bridge between LIV and the PGA Tour with the players moving around. Obviously, we already know that the league's going to continue through its second season. It's what comes after that's the real question. That being said, Jay's position at the top of the pyramid isn't so safe either, because PGA Tour players want him out along with Norman, and it's not hard to understand why. After all, Jay has spent 2 entire years slating LIV Golf and everything it stands for. I mean, he's criticized their Saudi funding so much, and yet he's now taking money from the same people. It's a bit hypocritical if you ask me. But wait, there's more. Think about the PGA Tour players who didn't give in to the multi-million-dollar offers from LIV Golf and stayed loyal. They must feel totally betrayed. They think that Jay has backstabbed them because LIV members got to take the money and come back to the PGA after all the drama. As a matter of fact, Rory McIlroy also looked frustrated when he was asked about his opinion. He said that he feels like a bit of a sacrificial lamb since he did so much for the tour and fought their battles. Not to mention, he could have easily taken a $465 million check and moved to LIV Golf. So, he expects some sort of compensation for his loyalty. That's not all, though, because Rory's also got a lot to say about Norman and the Saudi League. He says that he still hates those guys and wouldn't want them to come back to the PGA Tour after all this. What's more is the dude's been feuding with Greg Norman for almost half a decade at this point, which means he doesn't want him anywhere near the new golfing entity either. As a matter of fact, he also echoed Jay's words during his press conference, saying that the deal is between the PIF and the PGA Tour. So LIV Golf isn't a part of it, as people have been saying. Oh, and yeah, he expects the league and Norman to fade away into obscurity too, especially if the new venture does include another team-based golfing tournament. Despite all the grievances about the deal, though, most people think that it's still a net positive for the game. Rory, for instance, says that if he removes himself from the situation and looks at the bigger picture, then yeah, this will help the game move forward. I mean, you've got billions of dollars in extra investment, which will ultimately increase prize money for the players. Not to mention, it also unifies 3 big tours into one. This means fans will get to see events across the globe with all of their favorite golfers. Then there's the whole litigation side too, because guess what? That antitrust lawsuit from LIV Golf and that countersuit from the PGA Tour. They're both done and dusted. And that can only be a major win for everyone involved in the game. So at the end of the day, the only person who isn't winning from this deal is Greg Norman. But wait, don't rule the big guy out just yet. He says that LIV Golf isn't going anywhere. Yep, in a meeting with the league staff, Norman said that LIV is and will continue to be a standalone enterprise. He also added that their business model isn't going to change, and the 2024 season isn't going to be the last you'll see of the Breakaway League. Norman stated, "We changed history and we're not going anywhere." I mean, he does seem very enthusiastic about the future of his league, though you could say that he's got no other choice. After all, he can't simply call his staff and tell them they're going to lose their jobs, can he? Not to mention, as long as the merger details aren't finalized, he has to assume that things are going to continue like normal. So there you have it. From telling his staff that the Breakaway League is not going anywhere, to not even knowing that a merger was happening before the announcement. This is how Greg Norman responded to the LIV Golf and PGA merger.